You got it, Rob.
So we're live.
You are.
Welcome to Shocking News, and thank you for tuning in to this very special episode where we remember a guy who was an icon in the industry, a guy who made friends whenever he walked into a DJ convention. And to us, the four of us, he was somebody we learned from, somebody that we got to hang out with and get to know a little bit beyond just as a DJ. We're taking time tonight to remember RayMar, who passed away last week after complications from COVID-19. So we know that the industry is hurting right now all over when you talk about things like restrictions and everything else. And to lose somebody who is so well known in the industry, it kind of hurts. So I'm being joined tonight. I'm Rob Peters from Rob Peters Entertainment in Boston. I'm being joined. I'm going south and then I'm going west here. Luke Renshin from Luke Renshin Entertainment in Tiverton, Rhode Island. Yes?
Right, Rob. Yes.
I got it right?
You got it right. First time.
Now, the funny thing is, we were talking before we came on. Luke and I are about, 25 minutes away?
Yeah, I would say about
and we can't go see each other right now. So this is it.
Yeah.
So we go a little further south. And we have David Hanscom from Y Entertainment in Jacksonville.
Yes, sir.
And you're rocking the RayMar. What are we calling that anyway?
I don't know. We'll call it the official commemorative RayMar logo. How about that?
There you go. There you go.
I just made it up on the spot, and it sounds good.
I love that. And down below here, the one and only, out of what part of Texas are you at today? Is what I got to ask first. You have to unmute yourself because we can't hear you. It's Mike Morales from Texas.
I believe it's Houston, right?
He's all over the place. Now, the funny thing is, while he's trying to figure this all out, we could have fun with him in RayMar style, but we're not going to do that because that's just not right. But it's funny because I met Luke, but actually I met you through some local networking. And I met David through name, but I actually met Mike through RayMar. And I'm trying to unmute you, and I don't know if John, if you're still in the at the controls here, if you can just really quick unmute Mike because I see he's muted on the screen here. Actually, Mike, hit your space bar and hold it down. Maybe not. Mike, you were there for a second. No, we still don't have you, man. Technical difficulties. So, and we also have another guest joining us tonight, somebody who was really well known to RayMar because they did a lot of stuff for the industry together. Brian, Keith, are we calling you Brian or Keith? Because we met for the first time through Facebook Messenger yesterday.
Brian Keith.
Hey, Brian Keith, how are you?
Good. And
you had some experience with RayMar through CrossMix, which was the association that he worked on for a long, long time, spreading the good news and the gospel into the DJ industry.
Correct.
Awesome.
Correct.
Awesome.
And then Mike, I did a 12 o'clock lunch miss yesterday for Ray yesterday.
Okay. Well, we're definitely going to get into that. I just want to see if Mike's got his audio issue solved. I'm looking at him and he's telling me no. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to continue the conversation, and Mike, you can chime in a little bit. So, but it's funny how RayMar brought all of us together, even though we knew each other originally. Luke, you had the pleasure of working with him a little bit more than just learning from him. He actually worked with your company, right?
He did. Yes. For us, it was, we connected at one of the conferences. We decided, out where he was in Phoenix, it was hot. So he's like, I'm ready to do some weddings in New England. So we worked out the first event. And I mean, as you always know, he rocks it. And he's been doing events from us. He'd come down. He'd stay with our family. So, he became family to us. My kids know him as Uncle Ray. He
actually married you too, right?
He did, yes. 7 years ago. In fact, we just put up the video again today on his page. He officiated our wedding. So, I mean, he was very close. He started, like I said, he worked events for us, and then he actually renewed my parents' vows for their wedding anniversary.
Yeah, that was just a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
So how did you first meet him, though?
Mid-America DJ convention. It was kind of one of my first conferences, and he was inspiring. I bought his book. He signed the book. I still have his book, and I just kind of from there respected it. And I didn't go to that was my first DJ conference that I ever went to. So he was the first person that I connected with, and I met a bunch of other people, but he was the first person. And then from there, we just connected. And I think the biggest opportunity where we became friends was on one of the DJ cruises. David, you were on that cruise, and it was a wild cruise, and we became really close. And like I said, from there, we just built this relationship where we became family. And he worked with us, and he would come down and he would come down to help if there was just something going on. He'd be like, I'm coming down. He'll come down on a flight from Phoenix, and he'll take a red eye. He'll take a train. He didn't care what it took. He just got here.
Right. That was a really cool thing about him. And I got a couple of stories I'll share a little later on, but we'll jump over to David real quick. Yeah. You had some fun on the cruise, and the smile kind of was the giveaway. That smile is we're not talking about it. I could see it. But how'd you meet RayMar originally? I know you and I met through name.
Yeah.
And some of the name stuff.
So somebody was asking me that the other day, and I was saying that to me, I can't even really pinpoint when Ray and I met each other. I feel like he's always been a part of my life, honestly. But if I had to guess, it was probably at a Mobile Beat convention where a lot of us meet each other. And, he and I just hit it off really well. I'm pretty sure that when I met him, he had some sort of baseball jersey on, which immediately told me that he was a baseball fan, which all of you guys know I'm a diehard Red Sox fan, but I like all baseball. And so that was an immediate connection that he and I had with each other. And I think after that, it was just when I met him, I was very lucky at that time in my life. I was young and had some success in this industry and did some pretty cool things and everything. But it was a good, perfect time for me to meet him because he also really helped me be a lot more grounded than I was before I met him. People who know me know I was pretty wild and crazy and was known to do some out of control stuff. And I think that Ray was instrumental in helping me dial that back a little bit. And I still have fun, but a little bit more mature fun now.
Absolutely. It's funny because I met him in Florida, but I'll get to that a little bit later. Brian, tell us a little bit about how you first met RayMar.
I met him when he came and did High Ground Record Pool. We had a record pool called High Ground Record Pool, and he came to New York City and did the first conference for us. And also, when we started our company called SRP Record Pool, he basically was a builder of it, and then we were part of the name. Name basically came in with SRP Record Pool when we started. And we now the top Christian record pool in the country now.
Oh, wow. So it sounds to me like you're the experience. You're one of the more experienced ones. You knew RayMar when he had hair.
Yeah.
and see, that's the thing. We can all joke about that, even though, you know what I mean? This is what we would do. We would have that kind of fun with him a little bit and enjoy that. So it's funny to watch all these memories come up on social media. There's a couple of different ones up there. So that's pretty cool, though. It sounds to me like you and he worked together a lot. And now, where are you based out of, Brian?
I'm in Virginia.
Okay.
But I'm from Chicago.
Okay.
Born and raised in Chicago, but I'm from Virginia. I'm in Virginia now.
Awesome. Let's move down to Mike Morales. What part of Texas are you in?
I'm in East Houston.
You're in East Houston today anyway, right?
For the day, for the hour.
For the day. Tell us a little bit about how you met RayMar.
Once Upon a Groove and at an award show far, far away. Now, I met him in 2003, right after the American Disc Jockey Awards. Actually, backstage, he had just presented Paul Shoup with the, I think, Christian DJ of the Year award. And I happened to be standing by. And I just went up to him. And rather than introducing myself as most normal people do. I just looked at him and I said, "You're somebody I'm going to be praying for a long time." He goes, "Who the hell are you?" So anyway, it was love at first groove. I knew immediately we had a kindred spirit. And then he asked me if I was interested in being part of Crossmix. And then it just took off from there. And he and I spent many a times together during the Crossmix years.
Wow. Good stuff. My first encounter, this was 2001, 2002. It was the Mobile Beat Summer Show in Orlando. Way back when. I just started working with Name. I was appointed their director of media relations. And Bruce walked me around that show and introduced me to people and introduced me to RayMar. And he says, I want an interview with him for the magazine. So I set it up. So we met, and it was weird because I set it up. I had a meeting with Ryan Berger, who owned Mobile Beat at the time, and I was talking about doing a book for him, which eventually came out, which was really cool. And he said, you should really talk to RayMar. RayMar's written a book, and, he'll help you out a little bit. And it was funny because I had that meeting literally 10 minutes later. We sat down at a restaurant right outside the convention center, and I did my interview with him. And that was supposed to last an hour. I think we closed the place, if I remember correctly. We just chatted and talked for hours. And I think that was one of the things that we could all agree when it came to RayMar is you didn't just get to know another DJ. You didn't get to just know this guy from Arizona who was a DJ. You got to know somebody right from the day one, kind of on a personal level. He wanted to get to know you. And that's what I think is one of the things I remember the most about that meeting was we just had conversations, and it worked out really well. So, and it took off from there. We kept in touch over the years, and the most recent memory or in-person memory, I turned 50 in October, and my fiance Kim threw me a surprise party, and RayMar called me the day before the party. I didn't know the party was the next day. And we were talking, and I said, geez, I said, my birthday's tomorrow on Monday. It was actually that Monday. My birthday's Monday, and, it'd be really cool to hang out and do stuff and celebrate. He's like, how old are you turning? He's like, I'm like 50. He says, 50, you're a baby. I'm like, seriously? So we kept on going back and forth. Flash forward to the next day, we show up. My friends basically said we're going to watch the Patriots game at a bar. We walk into the bar, and I'm sitting at the table with my buddies, and one of them says, there's a meat raffle downstairs. We should go check it out. I'm like, I don't know, guys, just kind of want to have a couple of beers and some wings and just hang out. Sure enough, I walk downstairs. There's a big surprise. All my family and friends are there, and I make the rounds, and Luke, my guy, Danny K. Danny K's DJing this party, and he gets everybody's attention, and he holds up his cell phone, and he says, I have a very special guest on the phone. And it was RayMar on the phone. And he patches him through the system so everybody could hear. And he's like, I wanted to wish you a happy birthday. I'm really bummed I can't be here, but I have a gift for you. And I'm going, all right, RayMar on the phone with a gift. I don't know if that's such a good idea or not, because he's actually helped me write a couple of roasts for people in the industry, and trust me, that's another story in entirety. So he starts singing Fly Me to the Moon through the phone. And then I see half the room looking up the stairs because we're in the basement. Down comes RayMar into the room, making an entrance, singing this song. Totally got me. The video's up on my Facebook page. And it was just weird. And I got the backstory afterwards. He had worked Saturday night and took a red eye to Providence, drove to my house, slept here at the house while we were camping. I had no idea. And that's the kind of guy he was. He's the kind of guy, in my opinion, and in my experience with him, who would do that for his friends. He would get on a plane and come out and be and go out of his way for that. I mean, I remember we got back to the campground afterwards. He's like, I'm so tired. And we were up till 3:00 in the morning talking. And then I had to get him back to the airport the next day, and he's like, I'm sleeping on the plane. But that's one of the things that I think best exemplifies. I mean, I learned a lot of lessons from him, but that was one of the things I think that I remember the most. Luke, your family really got to know him on a different level. And I'm sure you got a couple of stories you might be able to share there.
Yes, I mean, with Ray, he would come here and spend time with our family. His wife Zoila came down. Even we took him for a trip to the Cape down here. We just we did a lot of things together. Like I said, my kids call him Uncle Ray, and when's Uncle Ray coming? And in fact, he still has his slippers here waiting for him. And it just thinking that that's not going to be the case anymore. He was really close. He married my wife and I, and he knew us, and he used that personal touch of officiating the ceremony. And if you watch the clips that we have online, it's classic Ray style, just the way he is. So he was part of our family. That's the way we look at it. And we just did a road trip end of June, early July. We were going to meet Ray. So we were on our way. We got kind of behind a little bit. So I told Ray, I said, listen, we'll catch up, made it to Anaheim. And I called Ray and I said, hey, Ray, we'll backtrack. Let's hit the Phoenix. Let's come visit you. And he told me he wasn't feeling well. And so we were going to see him, but there was just too many variables. And of course, with everything going on, we just said, Ray, maybe it's not a good time. And that's actually the last time I spoke with him. And then I continued on my trip. And then that's Rob, when you texted me, I was in Park City, Utah at that point. And you had told me he was in a hospital and had the virus. So for me, it was just crazy because, that's the last time I talked to him. We were going to see him, but we just thought it was a good idea maybe for both sides not to go see each other. And at the same time, I'm like, why didn't he call me? But Ray was like, you're on a family trip. I know in his mind, he's saying, I'm not going to interrupt your family trip, because he's all about family. He was always saying that, family comes first. And, so it was just, it was devastating to see all that. But he became very close to our family. He would come over to my in-laws and he'd have, Sunday lunch with the family. And like I said, he married my parents. We did the anniversary vows, and he came down and surprised them when they had no idea. So he loved to do surprises like he did with you, Rob. Yep. He tried to get me to go down and go to your party, but I had work. So he's like, I'm going down either way. So he was dedicated, but again, he was close, and he was family, and we're going to miss him. So,
and that, I think that you hit the nail right on the head, Luke. Kim and I consider him to be like, I said this when I wrote something about him the other day. He was the big brother I never had. He was the kind of guy from you could talk to him and get advice on anything when it came to him. I would call him about bubble party stuff. I would call him about, geez, I'm thinking about doing this. I never got to talk to him about the hot dog thing, which is a whole nother conversation for another day. But he had so much knowledge up there. And I, ironically, I said before we came on tonight, one of the things that I think RayMar was great for was bringing people together.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you talk about the irony of the phone call I gave you that day, I was notified from Mike Morales. Mike Morales called me that morning. I was hitching up my camper to head home, ironically from a camping trip. And he's like, yeah, RayMar's in a hospital. And I'm like, okay, I knew there were 5 people I had to call right away. And I think the fact that we're all here together now, sharing some stories and sharing the good times, he really left his mark on this industry. And I want to get over to Brian for a minute here and talk a little bit more, because you got to know him and do a lot with him that made a mark. CrossMix was something that I really think was I'm trying to put my words together carefully here. I think when you look at an association like that, that is what the content is, I guess you could say. I'm tripping over my words. He'd smack me upside the head and say, just say it. It's a faith-based organization and industry that's all about ego and everything else. And he really brought it centered and front and center into the industry. And I think you guys did a great job with that. Can you talk a little bit about those early years?
With High Ground Record Pool, he basically we had over 400 Christian DJs with High Ground Record Pool. When DJ Lace passed away in 2011, he was basically Steve Goldman was with y'all. Remember Steve?
Yep.
When Steve left, Steve and Ray was the main reason for High Ground Record Pool. Then when Steve left the group, Ray really basically worked with them. Then we started a group called the One Accord DJs. One Accord DJ was 2 record pools, High Ground Record Pool and another one. Then when Lace passed away, it was a hole missing in the industry. So that's when we started SRP Record Pool. And Lace, RayMar basically had to start our SRP Record Pool and basically build a foundation for SRP Record Pool. And right now, SRP is, and we've been basically working with this company from 2012, 8 years. We basically building a relationship with all the DJs overseas now. We got so many overseas DJs getting music from us now.
Oh, wow. So he helped make impact in this industry globally.
Right.
That is unbelievable.
If you can get African DJs and London DJs getting gospel music from us now, that's exciting.
Wow.
He was a very faith-oriented and God-oriented man. But the one thing, and Mike and I had this conversation the other day, it doesn't matter where you are in your faith and your spectrum. RayMar respected it no matter where you were. And he respected that boundary. Like, he didn't, and Mike's nodding his head yes, because we had this conversation yesterday. He didn't, I don't want to say ram it down your throat, but he knew when to turn it on and turn it off because he could read you, you know? And I think that's one of the things that really made him special was he did believe in God, and he used that in our industry to his good. I think if you were to ask DJs about RayMar, I don't think you're going to have anybody sharing a bad experience. I think it's going to be very, very rare to find that somebody you couldn't not like the guy. David, you and Luke and Eric Wenning, and from time to time I get in on some of the hijinks here. We had some pretty fun times doing some stuff, but he was a diehard baseball guy, just like you.
Yeah.
You get some stories about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like the big thing is that I could have met Ray completely outside of this DJ industry, and it probably would have been just the same because of that, because of our love of baseball, because of our love of sports. And, Luke being up in the area close to Fenway made it easy for us to go there a lot and go watch games at Fenway. I remember probably one of my favorite memories, and Luke, you'll remember this too, when we were up there with him, and we actually paid to have Happy Birthday Hall of Famer DJ RayMar put up on the big board for him because it was his birthday that day we were there. And it was the funny part about it, if you know Ray, he likes to take like millions of pictures all over the ballpark. And every time we thought it was getting close to the time for this thing to come up, we were trying to get him to stand still and be in a position to where he could see it. And if I remember correctly, Luke, I think he almost missed it, but luckily he caught it. It was up there. I think it was up there a little bit longer than normal because he definitely caught it, and we were able to snap a few photos of it. And but I mean, that's just one of the things I loved about him. And we went on another baseball trip this was in 2008, and I remember this one fondly because in 9 days we went to seven different baseball parks in 9 days. Wow. And that that was a trip I'll never forget. We not only did we get to see a bunch of baseball parks, but we took time to go to the different cities that we were in during that trip. And so we were able to see some historical things, and we did a lot of driving during that trip. So there was a lot of time for us to talk, and we clowned around a lot, but we also had a lot of good, serious conversations. And I look back on it now, and those are the things that really molded. I really feel like molded me to understand the necessity for the next generation, and this is something that all of us here really should be thinking about, the generation that's coming up behind us, really instilling the importance of caring about people in this industry and putting your arm around people and saying, hey, whatever you're going through, even if it's good times, like, I want to support you. You know what I mean? I want to help you out. And right now we all need that more than ever, because we're all dealing with stuff that we've never had to deal with before. And believe me when I tell you, it means the world to me to be able to either get a text from you guys or send a text to you guys and just like, hey, my day is shit right now. Pardon my language, but that's just who I am. But I need you guys to pick me up. And I know that one of you, if not all of you, are all hitting me back with either, something of inspiration or sometimes something funny. And I love that. That's what I love about the kind of this group of guys that Ray was instrumental in putting together in all of this.
We're being joined. Keith Allen from Connecticut's joining the conversation right now. Keith, how are you?
Doing good. I don't know if hang on a second. Hang on. There we go. I think can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can't see you, but
you can't see me. All right. I'm doing it on my phone. So,
okay. I'm going to let you work on that for a second, because I want to jump over to a conversation with you. But you talk about bringing people together. Mike, I met through RayMar, because I said to RayMar one day, he had become into the Bubble Parties organization that I run. And I said, you're welcome to spread the word about this. And the first guy he thought of was you, Mikey. And, he was really instrumental. And we had a training down in Houston for 4 days. And it was me, you, RayMar, and
Brian
Foley. How can I forget Foley? But we had such a great time, and it was funny because he was always itching for the Cuban food, but he was good no matter what. It was funny because I said to him, I said, all right, I have a rule: I don't eat anywhere I can eat at home. And we wound up at a Waffle House one morning, and we had such great conversations. And you and Ray had the connection through CrossMix as well, and Bubble Parties, and it kind of brought things together. But I'm sure you got a story or two you can float out about RayMar.
Well, we had definitely a spiritual connection, and I'll never forget. He got saved at a Billy Graham crusade, and so he always wanted to meet Joel Osteen. Well, that happened to be the church I was going to at that time. So he's like, I want to meet him. I want to meet him. He's like a little kid at the candy store. So anyway, he came and he got to meet him backstage and so forth. He was like a kid in a candy store. It was amazing to see, and another thing that stands out is when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans. A lot of the Katrina families from Katrina, they came to Houston. They were sheltered inside the Houston Astrodome. A door opened. At that time, I just got ordained as a children's pastor, and I got to go in there, and we got to just pray for a lot of the families. Well, I called RayMar, and I said, Ray, hey man, I got a group for you. You think about it, pray about it. And I told him, I said, you want to come down and help me pray for these people? He's like, he was on the next plane. And it was amazing to watch him because we were on that Astrodome for like 2 days. And it just really touched him. I mean, I could tell he was like in an element that I know a lot of people weren't used to seeing him in the DJ industry, but I'd look over my shoulder and man, I tell you, after like 13, 14 hours, you would think he was tired, exhausted, but he was like handing out water, handing out food, going praying for people and just encouraging him and encouraging them, which encouraged him. So seeing him in that element for the first time really blessed me. It's like iron sharpening iron. The last story, when RayMar came to Houston, he wanted to go see me do a bubble show because he was, trying to decide, I guess, on the timing when to do this. So we went to Austin. We checked into a hotel. There weren't many hotels left. There was a convention in that town, so we stayed at Red Robin, or I don't know, what do you call it?
Red
Robin.
Yeah. Okay, so it was like 1:00. We were both exhausted. We had to get up at 5:00 to be ready for our bubble show at 7:30. Anyway, so there was a roach. He saw a roach on the floor. And he looked down and he screamed and he goes, "Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no."
Say that.
He was infamous for
Yeah.
his, "Oh, hell no."
Yeah.
This macho Puerto Rican DJ, he's like, "Oh no, hell no." He jumped up on the bed like a girl and he's like, "Oh no, I'm not staying here. I'm not staying here. We're gone. Sorry." And he hops off the bed, gets out his suitcase, throws everything on there, and he goes, "I'm waiting outside the door." So at 2:00 in the morning, we go to another hotel, and by the time we got like 2 hours sleep.
Wow.
But that was so hilarious watching RayMar in that groove.
Unbelievable. Let's jump over. Keith, welcome, and thanks for joining in tonight. We've been sharing some stories and talking about how we first met RayMar. So to get you up to speed, what was your first, can you remember, or do you recall what that first meeting was about?
I do.
Like?
I do. First of all, thanks for having me. And before I talk about RayMar, I just want to say, Mike, I'm really glad to see you're here and that you are well. So congratulations on that journey.
Thank you.
My first meeting with Ray was out in Las Vegas, and I was just walking into, I believe it was Excalibur, and Bruce and Carol Kessler were going to get married. And they just grabbed me and said, "Hey, we need a witness." And they threw me in the car. And as they did that, RayMar went by and says, "Hey, we need another witness." And they grabbed him and threw him in the car. So the two of us are sitting in the back seat. And I said, "Hi, Ray. My name is Keith." And he said, "I'm RayMar." So that was my first meeting of Ray. We were co-best men at Bruce and Carol Kessler's wedding out in Las Vegas.
Wow.
Then we you get somebody like Ray on your friends list, whether it's personal or business, and no matter where you are, like, "Hey, there's Ray," and you go say hello, and you just chat for a while. But one of the other things about Ray that I will never ever forget, besides his love of baseball, is his love of country. As I found out that my son was being deployed to Iraq for the first time back in 2003, I was in Vegas when they told me he got his orders. And I was like beside myself. Just, I couldn't talk to anybody. But RayMar was there. And he sat with me and just pretty much held my hand as I fell apart. Didn't try and offer advice, didn't talk about anything, but just was there to listen if I needed him, along with Brian Foley, who was a former Marine. But every time I saw Ray from that point on, the first words out of his mouth were not, "Hey, how are you?" It wasn't, "Oh, hell no." It was, "How's your son?" Always, "How's your son? Where is he? What's going on with him?" He wanted to know. He was genuine. And his love of country is just something that if anybody had a quarter of the love of country that this man had, we would definitely be in a much better place.
It's funny you brought Carol. Carol Kessler's texting me while we're doing the show, by the way.
Nice.
And she said for me to tell you that she had no idea that's the first time you met RayMar.
Wow.
Yep.
But it's funny. Carol is the president of NAME, and RayMar was a member of the executive board, and he held so many roles in this industry, which I think fashioned him as an industry leader and somebody who we would go to a convention and he would make a new friend. Like, it was impossible for it not to happen. And he was in the Hall of Fame, the DJ Hall of Fame. He worked for QSC. He was involved in his local chapter of the ADJA. He did crossmix. He wrote a book. There's so much that guy did within our industry to make his mark. And I think we all, whether you're here with us on the panel, or we all have our own stories. But one of the things, Keith, that I could share with that is a lot of people close to me know that my dad passed earlier this year, and he was on the phone with me that afternoon for about an hour and a half, and it was that same experience where we just talked, and I fell apart. And you could do that with him, and he helped kind of put you back together so you could take another step forward for another day. And I think that's one of the things that when it came down to it, he showed up. He met my parents for the first time at my party. And it was funny because the next week my dad was like, that guy RayMar was awesome. And RayMar and my dad talked on the phone, I think once or twice between my party and his passing. And my mom, even just today, I was over at Mom's house and we were talking about having to do the show tonight. And she's like, how you holding up with everything? And I'm like, it's really hard to say because, as I've said, for those of us that were really able to keep up with what was going on with him, I think that helped prepare for that a little bit. And you never want to lose a friend like that, but it not that it makes it easier, but it was a little bit, it was something that it wasn't like you woke up this morning and found out that he had a heart attack in his sleep. You know what I mean? And he was perfectly healthy beforehand. And I know the industry is mourning this huge loss, but I talk about all the stuff he did within the industry. He taught the word of God. He taught DJs how to be better DJs. And I want to go around our panel right now as we get towards the end of our show tonight and ask everybody, if there's one thing you learned from RayMar, what was it? What was the one thing you learned from RayMar that is still helping you in your DJ business today? Keith, you want to go first? I'm going to save mine for last because mine is classic.
I'll go first. Mine is simply the word association game.
Mm-hmm.
That's by far. I still use that today.
Awesome. David?
For me, I think it's treat everybody with humility. And he used to always say, don't believe your own press clippings. And that's always stuck with me. Because, like I said, when I met him, I admittedly was young and stupid and did a lot of things and thought I had the world by the strings. And he quickly helped me understand that it's not the way to be. So, I definitely would say that's it for me.
Like you said earlier, and I think that's another good point is he helped you come down from cloud nine. He kept it real. Brian, what's one thing you learned from RayMar that has made you into what you do today?
He pushed me in be a better person in another level. When he showed me that he can basically do business parties and office parties at different events, and how he can market himself and get more sponsors and everything.
Cool. Mike?
He told me don't be impressed with titles and talents, but character and experience.
Yep.
And his book, Performance Beyond Expectation, he lived it.
Luke?
I don't know where I would begin. There's just too many things. But I can narrow it down. I can say I feel like one thing was I started a group in New England, Snap DJs, Southern New England Association of Professional DJs, and he was there at any time. We needed a speaker. He's like, I'm there. He flew down. He did whatever he could. So he was always there. I remember we had the All-Star event, and many of you came down. David came down.
I think I remember that group.
Yeah, that was a good group. We had a really fun time. It was in Newport, and we had, in fact, some of the pictures from that event are in one of his books. It might be in Performance Beyond Expectation, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, he always helped me. I was like David. I was a wild guy, and he kind of tamed me down, and he was always there and inspiration. And I remember one thing he always said. He would have his talks, and he would say, God first, family second, business third, and everything will fall into place. It was always kind of the way he was, and that was his. That he would always say that. If he was talking to you, he would just tell you that was, that's what you need to do, and it'll just all happen.
He shared so much. He shared that. He actually shared that with me too. But I go back to that first interview. And like I said, we're sitting at this restaurant bar kind of place right next to the convention center. And I think the big question I had for him at the end of the interview was, what's one piece of advice you would give a DJ who's just getting started? And I think this really resonates with who we are and what we do, especially with the experiences we all have in this group tonight. And that is, this isn't a business. And I'm wearing a Big Daddy shirt. Big Daddy kind of emulates this and says this a lot as well. But I got my first dose of it from RayMar. Sorry, Sean. But this isn't a business about just showing up and push and play and doing a party and going home. This is about building a relationship with people and getting to know them in a way that you can make a difference on their day, whether it's a corporate event or a private party or whatever. It's get to know the person that's writing your check beyond just a customer thing, because you never know where that next gig is going to come from. And that really stuck with me. I remember writing that in a notebook. And I don't even know where the notebook is anymore, but I still have that piece of paper somewhere safe and somewhere very special to me, because I think that's important. And I've said this a few times. He was great at being able to bring people together. And he had so many experiences, and there's a lot of stuff that, he did within the industry, and the industry really came to him. You got to know RayMar as a friend, and you took him. He came to you, and what you saw was what you got. And he was really genuine with the whole thing. So I think that speaks a lot. And as I said, I know we're all, I think I can sit here and honestly say, and I think you'll all agree with me, that he got the express ticket to heaven. He didn't have to stop and talk to St. Peter, although he probably did, and because it's how he was. We knew that's where he's up there right now, looking down at all of us, going, "Yeah, I did what I did." A couple of things. The people have reached out to me and asked about services, and right now, RayMar's wife Zoila has said that until things improve a little bit, we're going to hold off on a memorial service. But there is a GoFundMe page, and Luke, you were instrumental in putting that together. So I'm going to let you talk a little bit about that real quick. And what we'll do is I'll ask John when we're done to maybe put a link in the comments so that we can share that and help defray the expenses that have come with this. Yeah,
so we definitely put together a page. Obviously, initially we were hoping it under different circumstances. He put the good fight in. He did what he could, and now it's just more of trying to help. With just different things. I mean, with his wife Zoila, I mean, she's been going through a lot, and so any amount that can be helped would be great. There is a GoFundMe page. We created a page for Ray, and I just gotta. It's friends and family who love RayMar. So that's a Facebook group. We'd encourage you to put pictures, videos, anything that you have that you can share. Please add to that page. The GoFundMe's on that page. His wife Zoila's on there. His family's on there often. Many of you are on there. So we still want to keep the inspiration of him going and celebrate his what he's left behind, his legacy. So so I mean, if you are able to donate, if it's I know things are challenging for all of us, so if you're able to donate, great. If you can donate pictures, different things that you can help it, or just some of the things that he did, help a fellow DJ out or help somebody out. He was always that way. So, but that's definitely one way you can help and support him and keep his legacy going.
And that really goes a long way, because when you think about it, with the way things are, and he was in a hospital, and his wife wasn't working, so you've got bills, you've got things you've got to do. We're working on something with bubble parties, because he was a bubble party provider. He ran Bubble Parties Arizona, and he was really instrumental. When I look at the inner circle of people, all of my providers are as important to me as he was, but he was somebody who I called in a heartbeat. So we're looking at doing something really special when it comes to that, when that time comes. And I'm also working on with our podcast, my podcast, in doing a special where we can go about this a little bit more and share some more stories and bring some more people in. When we put this together, it was 3 days, and we put this together, and it was really cool. And I'm pulling my phone up because Carol is texting me from Carol Kessler. One of the things that, again, you talk about the surprises. RayMar flew in for Bruce Kessler's eulogy, and he had that relationship, and there wasn't anything that he wouldn't do, no matter who you were. He didn't care, what you believed in. He didn't care if you were a guy or a girl, if you were, what the color of your skin was, where you came from, anything like that. He took you for your face value, just the way he delivered it. And I think that's one of the things we're going to remember the most. So we hope that everybody, takes a moment tonight and just share your own within your thoughts, or maybe go into the group and share a story there. I think it would be a nice way for us to kind of heal as we move forward in an industry that's lost a legend, or at least in my mind, a legend. He was really instrumental and made a difference. So I appreciate you all being on the show tonight and sharing with me a little bit these stories. And I hope you all watching at home have an opportunity to be able to share what this incredible man meant personally and professionally to the industry and to everybody he touched.
Rob,
yes.
Before we leave, I wanted to mention one last thing. As many of you probably received, Ray would always call you on your birthday. I don't know. Obviously, he came to visit you on your birthday, Rob. Yep. That was a special birthday. But he would always call.
Luke, it wasn't a special birthday. Let's just be honest. I'm getting old.
I'm not too far behind you. I'm catching up.
There you
go. But he was always there. And with Ray,
happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you.
That's it. Yeah, and he would leave a message like that. He wouldn't, I knew it was Ray, but I have that on my phone, and I'm never gonna get rid of that. But that was Ray, and that's just how he was.
Awesome. Well, I think we've come to the end of our time here in celebrating Ray's life. And as we get more information about the things that are going to be coming up for RayMar, as things come up, we'll be happy to get that news out to you, whether it's on the Facebook page or through John, who I want to take a moment and just say thank you for letting us have this opportunity to be able to come into the industry a little bit and be able to share a little our experiences with him and kind of help the industry come together to remember such a great guy.
Definitely.
So gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me, and to all of you at home, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned. There's more programming right here on Disc Jockey News TV. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.